Okay. Sige, sige. Kasi ano eh.
Okay na?
Sige
Yes
po.
po, you.
Teka, can he start?
Yes po.
Yes.
We're now
Okay,
streaming live po.
okay.
Good morning, fellow teachers and fellow school officials. Magandang umaga po sa mga nakikinig. May mga nag-request pa nga i-acknowledge sila yung Rosario Ocampo Elementary School dyan sa Taytay Rizal. Nakikinig daw sila. Yung mga classmates ko, BSIA batch of 1984 sa Bicol Institute of Science and Applied Science and Technology, dati Bicol College of Arts and Trades. Mga nakikinig din. I know there are many more who have actually said that they will attend our session today. And Vival, I would like to also say thank you for the opportunity so that we at the Department of Education can share what's happening now in our preparations for the opening of school year 2020-2021. Bago po ang lahat, ang gusto kong bigyang diin kasi mukhang hindi gaanong nauunawaan ng marami, lalong-lalo na ang mga magulang, yung agam-agam na sa August 24, pupunta na yung mga anak nila sa mga paaralan at magsisimula na ang pasukan. Ito pong taong pasukan 2020-2021 ay naiiba kasi mamaya sasabihin ko kung ano yung mga pamimilian natin, pero ang isa pong sinisiguro natin, we will not compel anyone to go to schools para lang matuto. Naghahanda po tayo. Hindi po kailangang magpunta sa paaralan ang mga bata o ang ating mga kapwa-guro para lang masabing nagbukas na ang school year 2020-2021. So yung pong mga nagsasabi kung walang vaccine, wag mag-aral ay parang wala namang basihan kasi ginagawa po natin ang lahat ng paraan na kahit sa bahay lang ay matututo pa ang ating mga anak at ang ating mga kabataan. I decided to entitle this talk, ang haba niya nung ina-advertise ng Vival, but it's really making sure that learning will happen during the COVID-19 emergency. And for this morning, we'll talk about the principles of the Learning Continuity Plan the Department of Education has formulated in collaboration with our partners, with internal and external partners. We will also talk, and I know many are looking forward to hearing from us about the most essential learning competencies that we are going to use. We'll also talk about the multiple learning delivery modalities that the Department of Education will offer. And then we'll also next discuss the learning resources that we are now trying to develop and make available as well. And then we'll have a few things about assessment. And then I'll remind you about the health standards the Department of Education will actually implement, the highlights. And then a few other things like my personal sharing on what an ideal leader should be and how a school official in these times of emergency should actually behave. And at the same time, sharing of something I read recently about what else our fellow teachers should bear in mind, in addition to what I'm going to share from the perspective of the Department of Education. So the principles of our basic education learning continuity plan, there are 5 of them that the Department of Education, under the able leadership of our dear Secretary Leonor Liling Magtolis Briones, has developed. The first and most important principle is the health, safety, and well-being of learners, teachers, and personnel will be protected. And we will make sure that the further transmission of COVID-19 virus will be prevented. So wag natin pong kakalimutan. It's about protecting us. Second principle is about ensuring the continuity of learning. And we have made adjustments in the curriculum. I'll share more about that. We will align the materials. We will implement, as I've said, multiple learning modalities. We'll provide teacher training and parent and guardian training, because in this new model of learning, parents and families will have a more active part in facilitating learning at home. The third principle is facilitating the safe return of our fellow teachers and non-teaching personnel, and even the learners when they go back to work and schools, if allowed. based on the scenarios projected by the Department of Health and the IATF, complemented by other credible sources and balanced by Deped's own risk assessments. We also have professionals who make assessments of the risks that would be faced by everybody when we are allowed to go back to work. The fourth principle that will guide us in implementing the learning continuity plan is to be sensitive to equity considerations and concerns and endeavor ourselves to address them as best as we can. This means that we know that usually children of the middle classes, parents who are of higher education, have an advantage in schools. And the children of the working class, yung mga arawan lang kung magsahod, normally have difficulties. So we are mindful of that, and we will not insist on further putting our learners from poorer families into disadvantage. And I will have more of that later. And finally, the fifth principle is linking and bridging our basic education learning continuity plan to our pivot to quality and into the future of education under the framework of sulong edukalidad and futures thinking in education. Even before COVID-19 came, the Secretary, Ma'am Liling, has actually created a task force working on the futures, futures thinking in education, because she believes that we should really explore what future is, and there should be a special group that has to work on this. They are experts, and they're still operating right now, trying to really think about what kind of education will Deped be offering in the future. And of course, sulong edukalidad, we know it. I'll have more of it later as well. It's really our pivot to quality. So now, let me proceed with the most essential learning competencies. I thank the Bureau of Curriculum Development, ably headed by Director Jocelyn Andaya, and the team, in fact, the whole CI strand. I'm very grateful to be working with a team that actually has not been failing us. The team has delivered on what is expected from us by the Secretary of Education. The first thing that we did was really to identify, because we cannot really offer a special, learning package for learners during the times of emergency if we will work with the same learning competencies found in our curriculum guide. So what they did was to identify the most essential learning competencies, and I'm sharing even a slide prepared by the Bureau showing that we started with a curriculum guide, and actually last year, we were already starting to identify the essential learning competencies. This is part of the curriculum review that has been actually assigned to me. I mean, when I joined the EXICOM, the Executive Committee last year, the Secretary gave me the first order was really to supervise and manage the process of reviewing the curriculum. And we're almost done with the first phase, which was reviewing the learning competencies, finding out if indeed our competencies is it congested or just enough. The initial findings indicated that our learning competencies are comparable with the learning competencies identified by other countries around the world. So if you look at our curriculum documents, they are of world-class standards. But we also acknowledge in our phase 1 of the curriculum review that the competencies we have listed are too many. It's really congested. So we were really in the process of trying to decongest the curriculum. So the Bureau of Curriculum Development was working on the essential learning competencies. I'll have more about it later. But so the phase 2 of the curriculum review, which is happening now, actually is looking at how the curriculum is implemented in the schools, how the school is translated, and we will also go to a phase where we will look at how the curriculum is assessed. And finally, how do we make sure that the competencies we have listed in our curriculum documents are achieved? So there are 4 phases, and we hope that before our term ends in June 30 of 2022, will be ready to actually offer the enhanced K-12 curriculum out after the massive, the extensive efforts to review the curriculum is made. So when we identified the essential learning competencies, we said, no, we have to be very attentive to only the most essential learning competencies. That's why we have this document about to be officially released very soon. But we have actually shared it with a few people who were interested to provide feedback, but they were not official. The one that we will release soon will be official. I understand Vival will have more like live streaming next week to delve into the details of the most essential learning competencies. So you'll have more details on that area later. Anyway, when we talk about the essential learning competencies, we refer to the competencies that a learner needs for continuation to subsequent grades and ultimately for a successful life. So yung lahat ng kaalaman, karunungan, at pagkakaunawa na kailangan ng isang bata para siya ay ma-promote sa susunod na grade, yun ang tinatawag nating essential learning competencies. At syempre, yung mga yun ang kailangan niya para siya ay maging matagumpay sa sariling buhay. There are 5 characteristics identified by the experts, and the Bureau of Curriculum Development has used this to characterize our essential learning competencies. 1, they are aligned with our national standards or frameworks, such as, for example, we are always reminded that it's about developing holistic Filipino learners with 21st century skills. 2, they connect the content to higher concepts across content areas. 3rd, they are applicable to real-life situations. 4th, they are important for students to acquire, even if a student leaves school at a particular grade level. And finally, they cannot be expected to be ordinarily learned by students if not taught in school. The next slide shows you a graph that the most essential learning competencies we have right now has been able to allow us to streamline the K-12 curriculum. From 14,171 learning competencies, we only have a document, we call them MELCs, about 5,689, and there's a graph there saying that the most number of competencies that were reduced were in the mother tongue and then in English, etc. This one, the MELC, as I have said, addresses the finding on our initial review of the curriculum that there's a congestion and there are competencies that overlap. And then there's another way to present the exact numbers of the most essential learning competencies. Is a table from a report that we have submitted to the Office of the Secretary, mentioning that yes, 60% of the learning competencies in our current curriculum guides have been actually deleted or removed. And I will show you in the next slides what was the criterion needed for selecting the most essential learning competencies. We used endurance. And when we say a competency is enduring, that competence is that which remains with learners long after a test or unit of study is completed, or if it is useful beyond a single test or unit of study. So ang basic requirement para masabi, enduring ba ang learning competency na yan? Yan yung nagtitira sa mga bata, nag-i-stay sa atin kahit tapos na yung test. Kasi alam ko, ang dami nating nung mga nag-aaral din tayo, we would just, try to memorize and understand concepts in preparation for a test. Pagkatapos ng test, nakalimutan na. And what are examples? Research skills. Wherever you go, you will continue to learn, use your research skills. Reading comprehension, writing, map reading, hypothesis testing. This one is from the works of Reeves and others, but these are examples of the so-called most essential learning competencies. I'll be sharing how, in a few learning areas, how that there are indeed competencies that have been merged. For example, in English, you see English 4, there are several competencies: note details in a literary text, listen to; note details in a selection, listen to; note details by answering questions about a story poem, listen to; note significant details in a literary text. In the same learning competence for the 4th grade, it has just been merged into one or rephrased as note significant details of various text types. And the justification is in our K to 12 English, noting details is a skill present in both receptive macro skills, listening and reading. Although classified in two different domains, the skill remains the same, requiring similar cognitive demands. The skill is also enumerated in different text types, which again, despite this, requires the same cognitive demand. Therefore, all learning competencies that entail noting details were clustered together. The example of a deleted one: show willingness and enthusiasm in reading or listening to a literary text. Our justification is the learning competencies under the attitude domain were deleted, as this may be subsumed in other learning areas like edukasyon sa pagpapakatao o pagpapahalaga that focuses on attitude formation. Example in science, I'll no longer actually discuss all of them, but I just wanted to show you that there were competencies that were merged, dropped, and retained in our list of most essential learning competencies in all the grade levels in various learning areas, in mathematics as well, in Araling Panlipunan. So I'm just trying to demonstrate how the Bureau of Curriculum Development has actually worked on the identification and listing of the most essential learning competencies of the Department of Education. And then let's talk about now, how do we, having prepared the most essential learning competencies, which will be the anchor for all lessons that will be organized during school year 2020-2021. We are offering, of course, different researchers identify or have names for certain learning delivery modalities, but in the Department of Education, we have agreed after a series of discussions with our own team and the experts that there would be generally, broadly, 4 learning delivery modalities. But if you take a look at the learning delivery modalities, obviously there would be more blended learning that's going to happen in the Department of Education. When we say face-to-face learning, this is the traditional, I mean, sorry to use the term, but this is the usual expectation that we have for lessons. Teachers and learners are physically in the same venue. And when we talk about distance learning, it could be, it's an opportunity where learner is given materials or access to resources, and he or she undertakes self-directed study at home or in another learning space. And this could be online distance learning, as mentioned, where you use various technologies connected to the internet, whether synchronous or asynchronous. Pag sinabi nating synchronous, sasabihin ni teacher, o ganitong oras, sabay-sabay tayo online. Pag asynchronous, pwedeng sasabihin ni teacher, bahala kayo kung kailan kayo komportabling magtingin online, tingnan nyo yung mga materials natin at aralin nyo. That's asynchronous. So 2 ways of distance learning online could be synchronous and asynchronous. We also have the so-called modular distance learning. This one is using self-learning modules, printed or digital. Kasi sa modular distance learning, pwedeng yung traditional, alam natin, printed, naka-imprinta at yun ang ipapadala. And ang palagay ko po, ito yung mas maraming kailangan natin kasi marami rin ang nagsasabi na wala pa naman silang online access sa internet at lahat, so printed yan. Pero may mga bahay naman na kahit walang internet, may computer. So they can just download, pupunta sa school, kukunin yung digital files, ililipat sa kanilang gadgets or lalagay sa flash drive, and then sa bahay, pwede na nilang aralin yung mga dapat na pag-aralan. Nilagay po din natin at naririnig natin si Secretary Liding, we will also make full use of educational television and radio-based instruction. Negotiations are ongoing now on how we can optimize our use of commercial TV facilities or even government. Of course, ang uunahin natin, although may limited reach, ay yung government facilities for us to be able to do this. Ano naman yung educational TV and radio programs? That means that we will use the TV and radio programs on channels dedicated to providing learning content and resources as well. gusto po namin bigyang diin na educational TV or radio-based instruction will supplement or complement the two types I have discussed earlier. Online distance, pwede mong tingnan yung mga inaaral mo, yung kung ano bang sinasabi sa TV o sa radio, or yung sa modules. So ano po siya, pwedeng gamitin dun sa dalawang modalities of distance learning na yan. Then the third type na sinabi ko kanina, ito yung mas marami yata ang gagawa, is blended. And when we talk about blended, I know there are other definitions. Kanina sinabi ko na it's a learning delivery modality using a combination of the features of face-to-face and learning in distance learning. So nagkita si teacher at si bata in low-risk areas na pinapayagang magpunta pero hindi naman pupunta lahat sabay-sabay. So mag-i-implement tayo ng modified in-school, off-school approach. Maaaring groups of 15 learners, maximum of 20 sa isang araw. So halimbawa kung 40 yung mga estudyante sa klase, dalawang group sila. Yung isang group ay dalawang araw pupunta, Lunes, Martes or Lunes, Miyerkules, at yung isang group naman ay Martes at Huwebes or Wednesday, Thursday, depende sa mga paaralan. They report to their teachers, they have the face-to-face encounter, and then the rest of the week will be spent, yung wala sila sa paaralan, learning on their own. So pwedeng face-to-face or online distance learning. Yung pangalawa, face-to-face or modular distance learning. Pwedeng face-to-face plus TV or education TV and radio-based instruction. At pang-apat, face-to-face na hinalo-halo mo yung may online, may modular, at ginamit mo pa yung TV. Pwede kasing ganun yun. When we say blended, talagang it's actually an effort to make full use of all learning delivery modalities. And finally, pong homeschooling. Ito ay alternative learning mode, delivery mode, that provides learners with access to formal education while staying in an out-of-school environment with parents, guardians, tutors, as authorized facilitators instead of classroom teachers. May mga grupo din po na naniniwala na hindi kailangang teachers ang mag-facilitate ng learning ng mga anak nila. May mga pamilyang ganyan, kausap po yung mga group na ito, at maglalabas din po tayo ng mas klaradong guidelines tungkol dito. But essentially, nire-recognize natin ang homeschooling, which is actually a form of distance learning and at the same time could be blended kasi hindi lahat ng subject pwede mong matutunan na nasa bahay ka lang. So kailangan ma-expose ka rin sa ibang mga opportunities to learn other skills with people from outside. So mga ganon. Ano po ang dapat tandaan natin when we talk about the multiple learning delivery modalities? Inihiram ko ang slide ni Ma'am Liling, ginamit ko ito sa Kongreso. Sabi niya, regions, divisions, and schools will contextualize the learning strategies and learning delivery modalities. Our schools, under the supervision and guidance of our regions and divisions, are authorized to decide on the specific learning delivery modalities deemed appropriate in their context and consistent with the COVID-19 guidelines and regulations. So klarado po ito, hindi po ang central office ang magsasabi na ang isang school na yan ay ganyan ang learning delivery modality. It's going to be the school, the division offices, and the regions that will determine. We have, sabi ni Ma'am Liling, and I agree with this, nandito na po ako sa Deped since 35 years ago. Hindi pa pinapanganak yung mga marami dyan. We have great trust in our field officials, school leaders, and teachers in their resilience, adaptability, and resourcefulness in delivering instruction. In fact, pinupuri ko po ang maraming mga kasamang guro at mga namumuno sa paaralan kasi kahit wala, actually po yung enrollment natin at survey kung sino yung mga mag-aaral na may gadget, sino yung wala, ay gagawin pa lang sa June. Pero ang alam ko, marami na ang halos tapos na. So proactive po ang marami at saludo ako sa mga kasamang guro at mga kasamang fellow school officials as well. Ito po yung mga possible requirements natin sa online distance learning. Hindi ko na rin po siya gaanong bibigyang diin, but at possible pa po ito, hindi pa po final kasi nag-uusap pa kami. Halimbawa, kung mag-online distance learning ang paaralan, kailangan magsicertify sila na mayroon silang IT infrastructure with technology support so that there is really an internet service provider, a web hosting service provider, a technical support for learners and other users. The school can also have its own learning management system or outsource them online from others. They should also disclose the essential e-learning applications na gagamitin nila. They should also assure us that the courseware for each learning area and different grade levels are already prepared. They should also tell us that there's an assurance that the e-learning platform will be accessible to all users. They will also have a proposed discussion of the way the curriculum will be implemented. They will have to also say kung private schools, magkano ang tuition at paano yan, at kinonsulta ba yung parents. They will have also to say that they are complying with all the standards set by the Deped for online distance learning. At may mga tanong-tanong pa po yan dito sa susunod na slide, mga requirements. Dapat i-orient ng school yung teachers, parents, and learners kung paano gagawin yung online learning policies. The school should also have a learning management system. There should be technical expertise. There should be an email facility para po ito sa online distance learning. There should be help desk personnel working under the platform managers na ang trabaho talaga ay alamin kung ano yung mga tanong ng mga teachers at ng mga bata. Magkakaroon din dapat sila ng technology knowledge enhancement program para i-update yung mga teachers at ang mga users at kailangang appropriate ang content nila for quarter one sa platform. Ang mga dagdag na hahanapin, the school has proper assessments available in the platform. Tapos institutionalize yung training and updating of teachers. Access to device, syempre hindi pwede kung walang access yung teachers at mga bata sa device. Well-oriented on the Deped policies relating to online education. And then the parents are willing to actually make their learners do the option on online distance learning. Willing silang ang parents na mag-co-supervise o mag-monitor ng progress ng mga anak nila, and the learners of course have access to the necessary resources, device connectivity in order to access the lesson. So yun po ang mga pinopropose namin. Sabi ko po, itong mga sinishare ko sa inyo, hindi pa final kasi hindi pa tapos yung mapag-uusap, but ito na ho ang so far na pag-usapan naming mga titingnang hahanapin. Pag gusto namang mag-modular distance, ito, magkahiwalay yung public and private. Sa public school, modular yung pong mga iniprinta o yung digital, ano lang, magsasabi yung namumuno na gusto nilang gamitin ito at may mga handa silang copy ng mga materials. Sa private school, maliban doon ay alam nila yung tuition at yung compliance sa standards ng Deped. At ito naman po yung hahanapin, i-orient si teacher, bibigyan ng complete appropriate content, meaning yung mga modules, ay magbibigay pa ng mga reference and supplementary materials. Ang mga magulang ay willing na tumulong at ang mga magulang ay, yun na nga po, willing sa pag-supervise ng progress ng kanilang mga bata kung tungkol dito. At kung mag-education TV yung mga school, kailangan ang division office o ang school ay mayroong agreement sa TV o radio station at kailangan ang mga materials ay ready na rin. At sa private schools naman, yung gustong gumamit ng TV at radio ay i-discuss nila kung paano ang curriculum ini-implement using the platform for TV and radio. At siyempre, po nating tinatanong magkano ang tuition nyo, na-consult nyo ba yung magulang, at kailangan mag-comply sila sa lahat ng standards ng Deped. At ito rin po yung mga, as usual, mag-orient sa teachers, mag-orient sa parents, kailangan may MOA, kailangan kumpleto yung resources, kailangan may references, may access siyempre yung anak sa TV o sa radio. Ang iba, naririnig namin, maglalagay yung malalaking sa barangay nila, multi-purpose hall ng mga TV facilities, but of course, kailangan mag-social distancing din sila doon. Then parents are willing to help and co-supervise. Pag homeschooling naman po, ang mga hahanapin natin, intent lang ng school, magbibigay din sila ng implementation plan, magsicertify sila na mayroong homeschool coordinator, magsasubmit ng training plan sa mga magulang, at magsicertify din na available yung mga learning materials. Sa learning resources po, ang mga ito yung mga nakalista, but essentially, narinig nyo na ako, we will make use of self-learning modules for the ano po, for the learners, lalo na kung modular online modular distance learning ang gagamitin. By the way, ang learning resources po ay pinamumunuan ng ating Director Idel Karag. Sa Bureau of Learning Delivery naman si Director Lai Ariola po ang namumuno. Lahat po ito ay talagang abalang-abala ngayon. So ang mga gagawin po natin sa learning resources, and we acknowledge the contribution, very valuable contribution of the regional offices, division offices, and even schools. Because even prior to COVID-19 emergency, we were already in the process of developing the alternative delivery modules, which we are now converting into self-learning modules and expanding further for use during the coming school year. So ito po yung mga gagamitin, but essentially, the self-learning modules will be converted into different formats, pwedeng digital, interactive formats, pwedeng radio scripts or TV video lessons. But ang lahat ng ito magsisimula sa dinevelop ng Bureau of Curriculum Development ng most essential learning competencies. So ano naman po yung assessment? Yung national assessment, ang proposal po namin, hindi pa po ito final. I'm just sharing with you what we have initially actually agreed to submit, but we are in the process of listening to other experts and the views of other people for now in very low risk areas, not 10, 6, 12, ELNA, PEPT, accreditation and equivalency, NCAI. Sa mga low risk, yung pong walang halos COVID, will administer the exams to all learners, and then 10 to 15 pupils and students lang po per testing room. And we shall practice social distancing. Kung low risk, hindi naman masyadong marami pero mayroong mga agam-agam, mag-administer din po by batch. 10 to 15 din ang gagamitin. But for high risk areas, the online assessment for NAT 6, 10, 12, using the platform and computer-based assessment that is being developed now with the ICTS ni Director Abram Abanil ay ginagawa na po. At dahil initial effort pa lang po ito ang plano natin. Pero sabi ko nga po, ang mga sinishare ko dito sa area ito ay hindi pa final. Magtatanong kayo sa classroom, ganun pa rin po ang mga issue, paano ba i-assess yung nag-distance learning pag ang proposal namin, pagdating ng araw na pwede nang makita ni teacher at magkita si teacher at ang mag-aaral, saka lang magkakaroon ng assessment. Pero yung pagka-aral, patuloy, there would be formative assessments, yung pag-check lang kung naunawaan yung mga dapat alamin bago mag-proceed sa susunod na self-learning modules. So ano po ang key elements ng Deped Health Standards? Una, we will increase physical and mental resilience by implementing a school-based feeding program, health education and nutrition advocacy, mental health interventions will hopefully provide vitamins and minerals with support from our stakeholders, and we will provide support for teachers and personnel. The next element is reducing transmission by making sure that the schools are ready. We'll have respiratory and hand hygiene, wash in schools, provision of soap, etc. We'll make sure that masks are used. There would be regular disinfection, close monitoring by teachers, symptoms like kung may sakit, students and teachers with respiratory symptoms will not be allowed to be in school. Health and safety standards, not only in school, but also at home and on travel. The next is reducing content, physical distancing at work, reducing contact is to do physical distancing at work, classrooms and travel, reducing class size, multimodal delivery of instruction as mentioned, alternative work arrangements, ventilation of classrooms, and canceling. We have canceled all activities involving large congregation of learners. The next element is reducing duration of infection. So we'll have testing protocol, wala pong mass testing. Ang sinasabi pong testing ay yung kung saan na sinasabi ng DOH. Hindi po totoo yung mga pinagsasasabi na bago magpasukan ay iti-test lahat ng mag-aaral at mga fellow teachers natin. We'll also do internal contact tracing. We will make available PPEs for emergency situations and for management of quarantine facilities, pre-agreed referral system for symptomatic patients. And final other things, we will continue the Deped Task Force COVID-19. Mayroon po tayo niyan. We will continue to communicate. We will also monitor internal situations. Sabi ko po kanina, our learning continuity plan is not a standalone program. It is anchored on Sulong Edukalidad or the DepEd's pivot to quality. At yung mga hindi pa ho alam, there are 4 pillars of our pivot to quality or Sulong Edukalidad. Una, the updating and review of the K-12 curriculum. Pangalawa, we will try to improve the learning environment. Pangatlo, we will make sure that the teachers and our officials are upskilled and reskilled. Pang-apat, yung E sa ating KITE as the pillars of Sulong Edukalidad will be the engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. COVID-19 will highlight other strains of inequities to the education system, particularly in access to technology. But DepEd will focus on ensuring literacies and skills in our learning delivery modalities, technologies, strategies, resources, assessment, and in teacher school leader capacity building. Sabi ko po kanina, I'll also share one article, a few things that I've read. This one is the work of J. Mactai and Giselle Martin Neep. Kakalabas lang, May 12, 2020. Sabi nila, there are 7 strategies for supporting student learning in a remote environment. As I was saying, our learning delivery modality, most likely in 2020, 2021, will be essentially blended. So mayroong time that the students will be learning in a remote environment. One tip that they offer is we have to focus tasks on worthy goals and meaningful learning. Nagsimula na po tayo sa most essential learning competencies, hindi naman siya pwedeng hindi siya pwedeng, what I'm saying is the most essential learning competencies can be enhanced, can be, halimbawa, tingin ni teacher, itong learning competence na ito, MELC na ito, masyadong mahirap. So kailangan alamin niya kung ano yung mga learning competencies needed para makarating doon sa most essential. So we'll have to go for meaningful learning. Pangalawa, we will specify the task directions and success criteria. We should be very clear in our self-learning modules. And by the way, ngayong June 1 hanggang August, bago magbukas sa August, part ng mga gagawin ng fellow teachers natin ay yung mga learning activity sheets or weekly learning plans or assignments of the students when they are at home after the face-to-face lesson kung blended siya. Yun ang mga gagawin ng ating mga kasamang guro. We should be able to be very clear in communicating. Paano mo masasabi na naintindihan mo na ang aralin na ito? The success criteria should be very specific and clearly defined. Pangatlong tip ni J. Mactai at ni Giselle ay provide differentiated support and encourage students' choice and voice. Ang ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng ang ginagawa ko sa isang mag-aaral na mabilis matuto ay ganun din ang gagawin ko sa medyo nahihirapan. Of course, we all know this, fellow teachers. There is the so-called dati differentiated instruction. Ang ginagamit yata ngayon ay personalizing learning. So we have to make sure that the learning activities, the support that we extend to the learners will also be dependent on their needs. Those who are in most need should be given more attention. Pang-apat po, feedback along the way. So if you are clear kung ano yung success ng bata sa pagkakatuto ng mga kasanayan na yan at kaalaman, kailangan bigyan mo siya ng feedback. Sabihin mo, okay, mabilis ka, maalam ka, marunong ka. The fifth is encouraging students self-assessment, reflection, and goal setting. Sa mga makabago pong pagpapatuto, hindi na pwedeng lahat na lang ibibigay ni teacher. Kailangan si learner mismo, yung mga bata na nasa ating mga silid-aralan o nasa mga bahay na tututo, should also assess themselves. Nauunawaan ko ba to? Sabi nga isang skill ay metacognition. Naintindihan mo kung paano ka natututo at ginagamit pinakamagandang paraan para ikaw mabilis na matuto. So we have to make sure that the learners themselves are able to do self-assessment, reflect. Ano ba ang kabuluhan nitong mga inaaral natin sa totoong buhay natin, sa mga challenges ng buhay natin ngayon? At para ma-identify ko, ano naman yung gusto kong maabot? When I identify my goals in terms of understanding the lesson, even in terms of having a fulfilling life later on. Pang-anim, we are reminded by Maktay and Giselle Martin-Neat that we have to resist traditional grading. So I assure you, fellow teachers and fellow school officials, that we will release, nag-uusap na po kami, a modified policy for assessment, classroom assessment, and even for grading, because the traditional grading will not be applicable to the kind of learning delivery modality that we are going to implement this year. And of course, yung pang-pito, ito yung mga tanong sa akin ng iba. Paano mo masisiguro na ang isasubmit ng bata na output ay trabaho niya? Ito po ang inaasahan natin. And I would like to believe na mas marami po ang mga responsabling mamamayan, responsabling mga magulang, who will do an honor code pledge from the students and parents that the submissions, kung may mga ginawang output, ini-imagine ko po kung ako si teacher at hindi ko alam kung sasuggest namin ito generally, na baka isang requirement na isasama sa portfolios, kasi po gagamit tayo ng mga learning portfolios, ay baka yung mga refleksyon ng bata sa bawat konseptong kanilang inaaral, kung ano ang kabuluhan nito at paano ito gagamitin sa sariling buhay. So we will challenge our learners to actually connect everything that they are trying to learn now. And of course, that has been expected, pero parang hindi siya gaanong nabibigyang diin. And that could be the explanation why sinasabi na yung quality ng ating education ay hindi talaga nagiging competitive masyado. But perhaps, if we deepen the practice or expand the practice of challenging the learners to reflect and be very honorable, be very honest, that it's their that the quality of education is at best. Sabi nga po ni Senator, yan, hindi lang makapagbigay ng learning, kailangan good quality din ang learning na ibibigay natin. Last 2 slides na po yata ako or 3. Gusto ko rin mong i-share sa mga school leaders who are asking, nakalimutan na ba ni Usec Dads ang learning focus in school leadership? Even as we implement new modalities of delivering learning for our learners, yung mga school principals, supervisors, huwag niyong will be natuto namin sa team ko sa Calabarzon when we actually made a research in developing this framework. There are 4 things that are very attentive to para makakita pero mga school leaders or leaders for learning ang tawag namin dyan. You have to maintain presence and visibility in monitoring instructional activities. So hindi pwedeng nakakalimutan natin yung napakahalagang trabaho yan. Pangalawa, we have to foster teachers' professional development. Pangatlo, we should be ready to provide technical assistance towards innovative teaching learning activities. So dapat marunong tayo kung paano tuturuan yung iba, mag-mentor, mag-coach sa ating mga co-teachers, how to come to solve their problems, guide them in solving their problems. And finally, yung pang-apat na group of competencies we expect from someone who's a school leader and focus on learning is you exemplify good leadership behavior. Essentially, ang mga sinasabi dyan sa mga lista, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin, ay sinasabi lang na kailangan hindi lang ikaw ang marunong. Kailangan tinatanong mo rin, nagpapatulong ka sa mga kasama mong guro sa paghanap ng mga solusyon sa mga problema. Participational, respectful, sabi namin dyan, appreciative, na hindi mo kailangan hanapin yung mga mali. Mas mahalaga hinahanap mo kung ano yung mga kagalingan, the strengths of your fellow teachers and of the fellow members in the team. And finally, bago yung pinaka-last slide ko, I'll share my ideal leader. Hindi pa rin po nagbabago. I'm not yet this person, but my ideal leader, education leader man siya o kung ano pang leadership, youth leader, leader in the community, is a prince. Sorry. Matandaan, this is my attempt to synthesize what I've learned about the characteristics of effective leaders. One can be an effective leader if he or she is not proactive. When we say proactive, we do not wait for, we actually take the initiative initially and look at challenges and be ready with our responses. So we do not just wait for problems to come before we attempt to solve them. We anticipate difficulties, and I know and I'm confident the regional director actually how they will contextualize the learning continuity plan of the Department of Education. Some of them shared during our recent MANCOM meeting. I was so proud of the regional directors because they really were thing that I always would look for a leader is to be very about, and of course, clear that happen in the so that we harness the resources from our partners. Alam ko, tinanong ko, yung mga self-learning kung tao. Sa aking karanasan, the bicycles will all the department action in providing service to the learners. Pangatlo, intelligence. This is yung intrapersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence. Yung po mga kailangang intelligence ng talento ng leader. Naiintindihan niya yung sarili niya at marunong siyang makibagay at makihalubilo sa iba. Kasi pag hindi mo naunawaan yung sarili mo at hindi ka maalam makipag-relate sa iba harmoniously, marami kang problema. So the intelligence that I use here is more about being self-smart and being people-smart. The end, as my other characteristic of my ideal leader, sabi ko nga, I'm not yet this person, but I'm trying to be this person, is to make use of the network in the Department of Education and even in private schools. If we don't have networks of friends, colleagues, fellow teachers, fellow parents that can help us address our concerns, it will be very difficult. And if you ask me, yung panlimang lista ko dyan, credibility, being credible to me is the most important. You are credible when you have a word of honor. Kung sinabi mong gagawin mo yan. Pag nag-promise ka, hindi mo kakalimutan. At syempre, credibility is, kung yun na nga, pinapakita mo na nagmamalasakit ka sa iba. And then finally, hindi naman po ito arranged in the order of importance, but finally, my ideal leader is someone who empowers. Ang isang leader, palagi ko po itong sinasabi at uulitin ko dito, maraming nakikinig, kung maging principal ka na, ang una mong dapat isaisip ay, sino kaya sa aking mga fellow teachers ang papalit sa akin? Sino ang tutulungan kong mag-prepare, maghanda, para ako'y maging para pag ako'y umalis na sa school na to, may isang papalit na kasing galing ko. So when you are empowering, you share power. You do not hold on to power. You allow others to bloom as well. You allow other people to even surpass what you are capable of accomplishing. To me, and of course, when you empower, you capacitate. You make them capable. Hindi pwedeng, yan ang gagawin mo, tapos hindi mo naman tinuruan kung paano gagawin. Yan yata ang isang issue ng pinapagawa na ng mga self-learning modules. Ang ating mga kapwa-guru natin ay hindi naman tinuruan. So sabi ko kanina, when you are learning focus, you should be ready to provide technical assistance. So finally, while yes, the prince is my ideal leader, binibiro ko rin po yung ibang nagrereklamo, masyado daw hindi gender sensitive. So gusto nyo princess, lagyan nyo strategic, lagyan nyo ng sexy, princess na yan. Basta wag nyo lang pong kakalimutan, yung unang 6 ay galing kay Diosdado San Antonio. Of course, for those who know me, yung mga ka-team ko dati sa Deped Calabarzon, we've been very passionate in providing a public service that is transparent, ethical, and accountable. So I expect my ideal leader to be a key governance advocate. Umiinom ng tsaa, transparency, ethical, and accountable in everything that he does or she does. Finally, again, thank you, Vival, for this opportunity to share updates from the Department of Education. Our strand is called Curriculum and Instruction, and we always remind ourselves that in anything we do, aside from thinking about DepEd's core values of makadiyos, makabayan, makakalikasan, at makabansa, we also tell ourselves, CI, Curriculum and Instruction, is also about making sure and always remembering that children are most important. Thank you very much and mabuhay. Salamat po. God bless. I'll be ready to answer questions. Okay na po? Hello?
Good morning po, Usec.
Yes? Pwede
Ayan.
30-second break?
Ay, sige po.
Hello?
Hello po, Usec. Good morning po. Ayan po,
Morning.
magbabasa lang po ako, Doc, ng few of the questions raised by our participants.
Sige, please.
Ayan po. So, from Miss Edna Contreras Santos po, in an interview with Senator Win Gatchalian, he said that not all subject areas will be taught this school year. What is the stand of DepEd regarding this matter?
Most essential learning competencies natin, all learning areas will be offered. Pero yung kung anong i-discuss sa klase, the schools, as we have mentioned, will actually be recognized as the most competent in determining. Although magbibigay kami ng mga suggested scheduling, pero may mga nagsasabi that they can like integrate certain learning areas in their face-to-face meetings. We will not object. Basta lang yung most essential learning competency ay address nila if they are ready to come up with their own enhanced learning modules that allow them to cover the most essential learning competencies in another way. Ako personally, I will not object because ang point lang namin is at least kasi ang sinasabi lang na yung most essential learning competencies dapat ma-cover ngayong taon.
Okay po, Usec. Thank you po. Next question po. From AC Del Valle, Usec, since teachers are going back to work by June 1, does that mean that the multiple learning modalities should start already in June as well?
Sabi natin, sa June hanggang just before the opening of like August 24, the teachers will not yet teach. The teachers will prepare the learning materials the teachers will attend training activities para matuto sila kung paano mag-facilitate ng learning sa makabagong itong mga different learning modalities na to. The teachers will also help in actually training the parents, help their own children sa pag-facilitate ng learning sa bahay. At alam natin na mas challenging nga sa first key stage, yung kindergarten hanggang grade 3 kasi karamihan sa mga nag-aaral doon hindi pa naman talaga capable of doing self-directed learning. So mas maiting po ang dapat na pagsasanay na isasagawa sa mga learning facilitator sa bahay, magulang or yan in terms of these things. At sana tutulong din yung mga fellow teachers natin. And of course, kasama sa mga paggagawin nila, pag August na po, first Monday of August, pwede na silang mag-provide ng on a distance approach, distance learning approach, mga pag-identify ng foundational competencies. Halimbawa, kilala nila yung mga bata, tapos alam nilang sa ganitong lugar, pwede na nilang bigyan ng mga additional exercises and drills or learning activity sheets. But this is not yet like part of the formal opening. In preparation to open the school year, may mga pwede rin po silang gawin in terms of guiding certain learners and helping them to actually read properly with comprehension, etc. Pero yung pong pagtuturo is August 24. Yung totoong pagtuturo na whether distance or face-to-face sa mga lugar na pinapayagan.
Okay po, Usec. Next question po. From Miss Daisy Velasco, how can we get a copy of that decongested essential learning competencies, sir? Will it be available online po?
We will make it available very soon. Maglalabas po ng Deped issuance at bantayan nyo na lang po yung official version, official release.
Okay.
Very soon na po yan.
Okay po, Usec. Then, from Miss Lauren Ayongao, will Deped provide gadgets or laptops to teachers both in public and private schools?
Sa private medyo wala tayong control doon kasi independent ang operations nila. Sa public school, that's really in the roadmap. Yung strand ni Usec Alain Pascua as a parang roadmap on like distributing and making sure that the teachers are equipped. But that cannot be done overnight. So kasama po yun sa mga ginagawa. Nagsisimula nang namimigay tayo ng mga ICT equipment sa mga paaralan, pero hindi pa siya magagawa ng mabilis. And dito po papasok yung mga governments, local governments na may mga resources. Hindi naman po hindi ito sa lahat, pero sa mga lugar na can afford yung mga cities or provinces or mga bayan na mag-provide ng, I know in Calabarzon, there are many local governments there that distribute laptops or tablets to teachers. So, hindi po yan haharangan ng Deped. Ini-encourage po natin yan.
Okay po, Usec. Then for our last question for today, ayan po, may I ask the program or direction for SPED or learners with educational needs? Yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry, sa excitement po kanina, hindi ko nabanggit na even as we convert the self-learning modules into the different formats, kasama po doon yung conversion nila into formats that will be useful to our learners with disabilities. So hopefully, available din po siya sa mga visually impaired, sa may mga hearing impairments, yung mga TV programs. We will try very hard na mayroon siyang translation ng sign language para nauunawaan ng mga mag-aaral na may mga impairment sa pakikinig at lahat-lahat pa. Hindi po yan ini-ignore. Kasama rin po sa mga ginagawa ang pag-contextualize ng mga learning delivery modalities para sa ating mga indigenous people sa mga iba't ibang mga lugar. So inclusive po. I think hindi ko kanina nabigyang diin, but our effort will always be inclusive education. Yung pong sinasabi nating safe education is also inclusive education. Susubukin po nating walang maiwan. Of course, challenging po sa mga learners with disabilities kasi may mga dagdag na pangangailangan ng mga ito. But we also have special SPED schools who have been able to deliver. And so sila rin po ang bibigyan nating tuon sa paghahanda na may na iniisip yung kapakanan ng mga learners with disabilities or the pupils with disabilities.
Okay po, Usec. So, ayun po. Last na po from Miss Josie Azada Garcia. Hope this is recorded so it can be shared with other teachers. Ayan po.
Kayo nang sasagot niyan. I have no objections about this being shared or being shared with others. Ako, it's okay with me. But perhaps those that have other questions, you can find me on FB Messenger. Unfortunately, hindi pa ho yata nagagawa ng paraan where I can allow more friends in my account. Parang napuno na po siya. But you can find me on Facebook Messenger. Send me messages and I'll try very hard to respond to all your needs. I think yung last slide ko kanina indicated my email address. You can also send me emails using that email address, and we will assure you, yung pong mga kilala ako can confidently confirm that I always respond to people who send me messages. So send me emails.
Okay po, Usec. So that would be everything for today. Once again po from Vibal Group Incorporated, thank you very much, and it is our pleasure to have you with us today.
Ang final word, although I don't know kung welcome sa Vival na mag-announce, ang strand po natin, curriculum and instruction, by middle of June, we'll also be going live streaming twice or thrice a week. Ang tentative idea ko ho is 12:30 every MWF kung thrice a week siya, or TTH kung twice a week lang. We will launch Deped Teaches. And through the Deped Teaches, mga 20-30 minutes live streaming regularly, sabi ko nga po, twice or thrice a week. We will also be interacting with you, fellow teachers. We will our Deped officials to actually talk about the initiatives happening, the best practices. Later, we will allow even the fellow teachers in the field who have very beautiful interventions to also share them using that platform we are developing right now. Deped Teaches, so I expect you to support us as well when we finally launch that. Maraming salamat po ulit sa pagkakataong maging bahagi ng efforts para mas makapag-unawa ng mga dapat malaman sa paghahanda natin sa pasukang 2020-2021. Mabuhay po tayo. God bless.